A few of you have asked me how much does it cost to go to the Urban Sketchers Symposium. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the expenses that are involved, how much I actually spent, and you can use the information provided for your budgeting for future trips to the Urban Sketchers Symposium, maybe the Asia Link Sketch Walk, or for other international sketching trips or for your overseas workshop. So this is how much I spent in total for the trip to Auckland for the Urban Sketchers Symposium. A total of 2,664 US dollars, which is around 3,600 Singapore dollars, rounded up. And if you look at this pie chart, you will see that the bulk of the expense or the cost actually comes from airfare. So I paid 1,978 US dollars or 2,600 Singapore dollars for the airfare from Singapore to New Zealand and also from the trip back to Singapore. So this is much higher than I expected. And this is also much higher compared to the airfares that I've paid for previous symposiums to Barcelona, Manchester, and Amsterdam. And in 2015, the symposium was actually in Singapore, so that year I did not have to pay for the airfare and for the hotel. So as you can see, the airfare can vary significantly depending on where you are and where the symposium location is. To compare the prices for airfares, you can use Google Flights or Skyscanner, and after you have some idea of how much it actually costs, you can also head over to the official airline website to compare prices there. And do note that certain websites may charge you additional fees for credit card processing, so that is something you have to budget for as well. Many of my friends from Urban Sketchers Singapore did not go to the symposium. There are only 4 from Singapore that went over, and that includes me. So I believe it's the high cost of the airfare that prevents people from going over. Because if you think about it, it's US $2,000 for the airfare from Singapore to New Zealand and back. For US $2,000, you can actually go to Osaka, Tokyo, Japan, pay for 1 week of accommodation and for the food, and you will still have money left over compared to just spending it all on airfare to Auckland. So airfare pricing can be prohibitive. The next chunk or bulk of expense or cost comes from hotel accommodation. I spent 491 US dollars for 3 nights. The other nights were actually sponsored by the Urban Sketchers Committee. So if you are going for a long trip, the hotel accommodation expenses can add up quite quickly as well. Budgeting for hotel accommodation is quite straightforward. If you have the budget, I highly recommend you get a hotel that is nearest to the hub, nearest to the symposium location, because when your hotel is nearby, you can go back quickly to pick up items that you have forgotten to bring along, or when you buy stuff at the sponsor booths, you can put those items back at the hotel so that you don't have to carry them around. Or in the afternoon, you may want to go back for a refresher, for a quick afternoon nap. You can do so as well when your hotel is nearby. And to compare hotel room prices, you can use Google Maps. Just do a search for hotels on Google Maps. You can also compare hotel prices with Agoda or Booking.com. If you have friends who are traveling with you to the symposium, you can share hotel rooms as well, and that would help you save a lot of money. Next, you have to budget for transport costs, such as for the shuttle bus or the train from the airport to the city center and from the city center to back. You may also need to spend money for public buses, the train, the subway, metro, maybe taxi or Uber. So you can do some research online, check out the transportation website for that country and find out how much public transport actually costs, find out how much the shuttle buses or the train cost in advance. And sometimes you may have to pre-book those tickets in advance. So yeah, that's something to take note of. For my trip to Auckland, I only spent 34 New Zealand dollars for the shuttle bus from the airport to the city center and back. And usually the workshop locations are very near the hub, and the workshop locations or the demo locations are usually within walking distance, so it is very unlikely for you to have to take public transport to go to workshop locations. So the only time you may have to spend on public transport is maybe before and after the symposium, where you want to visit other places. So for the pie chart that I showed you earlier, I did not include the cost of buying the passes that are required for you to attend the symposium. So for this Auckland symposium, the workshop passes are $450 each, and the sketch passes are $260 each. And there is this partner pass or partner ticket, which gives you access to the opening and closing reception, and you also get some food. So the passes can be quite pricey, so do save up for those passes. It is possible to get some discount on the workshop passes and sketch passes if you are able to buy them during the pre-sale period or the early bird period. So do follow the Urban Sketchers social media pages so that you can get notified as to when the early bird or pre-sale period will start. And that will be followed by the standard sale period. Since I'm a correspondent at the event, I did not have to pay for the passes. But if you are going to the symposium for workshops, then the price of the passes is going to form a bulk of the expense. For food, I usually budget around $20 for each meal. So you can count how many days you are there at the symposium and budget accordingly. And if your hotel provides breakfast, that's great, but of course you have to pay for the breakfast. And in Auckland, most of the eateries or restaurants actually accept credit cards. So for this trip, I actually did not pay anything in cash. So everything was paid for with credit card, which is very convenient. Just make sure you set your credit card to accept overseas transaction first before you head over to the symposium. Next, I want to talk about laundry. So if you are at the symposium for those number of days and you are also spending days before and after the symposium, chances are you will have a lot of laundry. So to do laundry, you can use those coin-operated laundry machines, which you can find very easily with the help of Google Maps, or you can choose to go with hotel laundry services, which are going to be much more expensive. So it really comes down to how much budget you have and what kind of convenience you want. With laundry machines, you will have to put your laundry there and wait for it to wash and dry. But with hotel, it's going to be much more expensive, but they will deliver laundry to you, to your room. So that is convenient, but very expensive. One essential item that you will need when you are overseas is a data SIM card, so that you can use your phone for Google Maps, for emails, checking messages, social media, whatever. Do some research on the types of tourist SIM cards that are available from the telcos from that country. Compare the prices, compare the data plans, compare the period of validity, because certain SIM cards are sold according to the amount of data you get, and some SIM cards are sold according to the time period, like 3 days, 7 days, or 1 month. And as a correspondent, I actually purchased the unlimited plan in Auckland, which was actually not that necessary, because when I looked at how much data I actually used when I'm covering the events that includes live streaming on YouTube, I actually just used less than 20 gigabytes for the week. Let's talk about miscellaneous expenses. If you want to buy art supplies from the sponsor booths, that's great. Just make sure you have enough luggage space and bring enough money. And it's great to shop at the sponsor booths because you get this huge selection of art supplies to choose from at this single location, and you don't have to worry about shipping costs because you are going to be bringing everything back yourself. I'm not sure about other miscellaneous expenses, but for me, for this trip, I had to spend $5 for batteries and another $5 for this wrapping tape so that I can wrap up my cardboard box to ship my goodie bag back to Singapore, and that's pretty much the miscellaneous expenses that I have for this trip. So that's almost all the different types of expenses I can think of, and that's how much money I spent at the symposium in Auckland. If I have missed out on anything, please let me know in the comment section below. So the bulk of the expense or cost really comes from the airfare and accommodation, and those two really depends on where the symposium is. So if you are living in a country near the symposium location, then that's great. The trip for the symposium is not going to be as high compared to people who are living further away. But since you are going for the symposium, you will still have to budget the extra money for buying the workshop or the sketch passes. So is it worth the money to go for the Urban Sketchers Symposium or for those international trips or workshops? I would say yes, because this is definitely something you will remember for the rest of your life. So it's definitely an easy yes for me. But how about you? If you have been to Urban Sketchers Symposiums, or if you have been to other international sketching events, let me know in the comment section below. Let others know whether or not it's worth it for you. So that's it for this video. I hope it's helpful. See you guys in the next one. Bye.